Everything else should be exactly the same. So we've exported our piece here as an FBX. We've made sure that we've moved it to the 000 position because we want to make copies of it in Unreal. And we want an easy way to move it around. Sniper Echo says with Blender he has the option to export the scene and also change the pivot point to 0. Well, that's really cool, while preserving the instances of the mesh. Yeah, I don't have that option that I'm aware of in Max, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, there is I can change my pivot in Max here, that way, but I don't want my object way over here and my pivot way over here, so there's no way that I'm aware of when I do an export of this piece of geometry, if it's not at 000, to make sure that the axis is at 000. So that's really handy if Blender has that option, because as far as I'm aware, Max doesn't. I actually have to physically move it to the 0 position before I do an export, which is, I guess, no big deal really. You saw how I did that. I just isolated the selection and then used the move tool to bring it to 000. Once I've done that, now that I've done the export, I can move this back to where it was, which is what I'll probably do. So let's just jump into Painter though, and let's create a new project. I'm going to use the Unreal Engine 4 algorithmic preset template. Now, it's been a while since I've used Painter, so I'm not sure if that's a new function setting there because I'm using the new version of Painter. Sniper Echo says, it is there in Max, but I don't know where. It came to Blender from Max. Well, that's good to know. I'll have to check that out. Well, after the stream, I'll look it up. Again, because it's been a while since I've worked with game engines, because I do ArchViz stuff now, I usually don't have to worry about moving stuff to 000 position before I do an export. That's something unique to Unreal. But I'll check that out after the stream, for sure. Sniper Echo says, that's about all my Max knowledge. Well, you know, I'm not aware of that. I'll have to look it up. So apparently there is an option in Max to get it to save to 000 position axes, regardless of where the object is in 3D space in Max. So I'll check that out though after the stream. But like I said, it's no big deal really for me to move it to 000. It takes 5 seconds. I can move it back once I've done the export. Getting back to Painter though, I'm using the new version of Painter. The Algorithmic released an update to 2.5, fixing the problems people were having with the Wacom tablet not working. I'm using the fixed version here, and I'm not sure when they added the Unreal Engine 4 template, so that's what I'm going to be using. If you're using a version of the Painter that's not the newer one, I believe you can just use the where are we? The PBR one. Where is that? One of the metallic ones here, Metal Roughness PBR. That'll work too for Unreal, but we may as well use Unreal Engine 4 because that's what it's there for. And again, like I said, I have a feeling they may have added that with this new 2.5 version of Painter. Going to work in DirectX mode and set my document resolution to 2048. Now I'm going to select the mesh we just exported, which is this one here. Okay, I'm not baking from a high to a low, I'm just loading in my mesh and setting up my initial project here. So we've got a mesh in our viewport here. Let's start by throwing down a wooden texture, I think. Now I know for the interior of this building I want to use cherry wood. I'm going to be using cherry wood for most of the wooden pieces in the building. American cherry they call it. We call it cherry wood over here in good old Australia. Just want to look at what it's done here. try reducing the size of this a little bit. We have a tiling value here. Let's change that to maybe 2. Actually, let's up it to maybe 4. Right, let's knock it back. No, maybe pull it up a little bit more, I think. Just trying to see what's going on here with these decorative pieces that I have on the sides.
Doesn't mean I won't get stronger. I come up out of disaster. I'm the lead rebellion soldier. I will dominate. I will kill this game, and I still remain. I remain standing here. I run.
Let's see what other wooden pieces we have here. Let's go down this chocolate brown. I just want to see how it's actually applying the texture. I'm just going to turn these off for a second. I'm going to look for I don't really like the way this texture is being applied. Again, this is generally why I like to paint my models up in Mari. Because these are physically based materials and they're just going to apply based on the geometry, and in Mari when I paint my textures I have a lot more control over the way they look. Go back to our American cherry. Gonna change the color here a little bit. Oops, I'm in the wrong one there. I'm also going to turn off the or turn back the normal map, I think it is. I just think the normal intensity is way too high. Let's see if we can't play around with our fibers as well. No. Maybe the wood roughness. I did want it to have a little bit of a sheen to it because I want it to look like it's not overly polished, but it has a bit of a sheen. Maybe a bit much though. So not completely dull, but not really glossy either. I don't really like the pattern it's creating though. I'm going to try randomizing my seed a bit and see if that gives me a pattern that I like. You do remember you can turn these values off as well if I take the height value out completely. This might actually be better for this piece of geometry. I think having height value in there just is making it look a bit odd. I might just try pulling down on the height range a little bit. So we just have a little bit of the value in there without turning it off completely. Just turn it off and can do a comparison here. It's with no height value at all. Yeah, I'll keep height on, but just a little bit. So let's see what this is doing. Okay. I've just unlocked the value here so I can manipulate the U and the V independently and not together. This is Substance Painter Alchemist. I know you guys have seen me working in Mari and I still like to work in Mari. Mari is my preferred 3D paint program. Substance Painter though can be good for physically based materials like wood and car paint or paint and that type of thing. I still may end up taking this asset into Mari to do a paint on it anyway. We'll have a look. And at the moment I'm just looking at the UVs that this is using. Just trying to get it to UV map to look a bit more natural, that's all. And we remember though, you don't necessarily even have to stick to, even if you're using Substance Painter to create a physically based material, which you're then going to render out to a texture anyway. You can then take that textured model into Mari or whatever 3D paint program you're using and paint over the top of it, which is what I may end up doing anyway. Let's look at our other tiling value here. So we're at 3 there. And what I'm looking for here is just to get a base coat down that I like before I start painting some detailing into this. And all I'm doing at the moment is playing with the UV mapping to try and get it to map a way that I like yeah, to UV map correctly. Enter a value of 1.5. I'm just going to save my project here before I start messing around too much with painting on it. Wooden Ceiling Arts is fine for our project name. Now Sniper Echo says he's new to Substance, so he can't speak much about it, but he finds it hard to get something that looks natural. I agree. Again, you know, you guys know I really like using Mari to do my painting, because I like to do painting by hand. Substance Painter and Substance Designer are really good at creating procedural materials that whereby the program does more of the decision making for you, if you know what I mean. You can still get in there and paint by hand, which is what I'm going to do in a minute here in Substance Painter, but it's more procedurally based, physically based rendering material. So I'd like, unfortunately I find a lot of the stuff tends to come out looking the same no matter who's doing it. He says, I'm sure it's just a lack of knowledge, but all these textures are kind of plastic. Remember though that it is physically based, so you're working with a roughness and a metal value, and you'll find that if either of these are not quite right, then that'll make your model look plastic. It's the same with a normal map actually. If you get your normal map wrong, it can end up making it look like your model is covered in plastic cling wrap. You know, that really clingy, that, like, you know, vacuum packed bag that's covered when you put food in it, that sucks all the air out. If your normal map is not right, it can look like your model is covered in that sort of plastic as well. It's hard to describe, but yeah, it sort of looks like your model is maybe shiny, wet, like it's covered in shiny plastic basically. So that's generally a problem with the normal map. But because of these physically based materials, it can also be a problem with either roughness or metallic, or the metal value. You can see here that we're not getting a plastic looking wrap here, but if I was to pull up on the where are we? On our height value, which is, this is our height material here. If I pull that up too high, it'll start to look too glossy. Where am I? That's just, yeah, it's the metallic and the metallic and the height value throwing the light that makes it look too shiny. That and the wood roughness here, which is part of to do with the roughness value. Let me just pull this back again. I do want some height information in there, not too much though. See the wood roughness value? If you pull it up too high and make it more toward the black, it turns it into like chrome. And that's basically really like a super polished piece of wood. You never polish up a piece of wood. You could never polish it up to look that reflective. But that's to do with the roughness value. And that'll, as you know with Substance Painter, when you export this to bitmaps, it'll convert that to a bitmap material that you use in Unreal. I'm just going to pull back on my roughness a bit here. I do want some reflection, but not too much. I want it to look like lightly polished wood, not heavily polished wood. Alchemist is asking, is Mari contribute to reality and speed to texture? He's never used it. He's just wondering. Does Mari helps you? I guess you're asking me, does Mari help speed up creating realistic looking objects and textures? And it does, yeah. The other advantage you have with Mari is you can paint across texture scenes, so you're not going to get, like if you work in Photoshop to do your texturing and you've got two UV islands, you got to, if you're not careful when you're matching them up, you can see the line on your model. With Mari in a texture painting program, those two pieces doesn't matter if one is here and one is down here, because you're using 3D painting to paint across them, so you always get a nice transition across your UV islands, regardless of how it's been UV mapped. So it can speed it up that way and yeah, help you to blend your textures across your UV seams better. And I like it because I can paint in stuff, detail, dirt, exactly where I want it. You can do that with Substance Painter too, but again, Substance Painter is more procedurally based. So while you can paint your detailing in, it's not exactly like Mari, where you work more with bitmap material to actually paint on the texture. You're not working with physically. You can work with physically based materials in Mari now. I don't tend to though. But yeah, it can contribute to reality and speed up your texture flow for sure, Optimist. Yeah. You'll see me working in Mari at some stage because there are some pieces in that of our model here that I want to take into Mari to paint up. I'm just going to take a quick break, guys. I want to grab a fresh cup of coffee. This one's gone cold. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. So, yeah, just hang out for a couple of minutes. I'll leave you with the my Be Right Back screen's epic music, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay. So, what I'm probably going to end up doing with this piece of geometry here, this texture for this wooden arch, I'm going to do some general wearing here in Substance Painter. Then what I'll do is take the texture into Mari and just do some touch-up work in Mari, because I find Mari a better program to work with than Substance Painter, just for me personally. Like I said, I don't recommend one over the other. I just prefer Mari, and again, Mari lets me work with really large textures. That's why I'm more familiar with Mari, because in the past I've done texturing work for cinema and they require really, really large textures, whereas Substance Designer and Painter is limited to 8K textures, which for games development is fine. But again, I work in architectural visualization and do a lot of cinema stuff, so, well, I have in the past done cinema stuff. And that's generally why I've usually end up using Mari. And I'll do that for this as well, probably. Some pieces of, some assets or props or whatever you want to call them, I won't use Substance Painter at all, I'll just use Mari. Let's just go through our stack here. I want to see what textures I've laid down. I'm going to turn that off. I want to get rid of this chocolate brown wood here completely. We're not using that. And this American cherry here, I just want to add a bit more red into the color. Maybe not quite that much. That should be good. Let me just turn my top layer on. I might change the scaling a little bit as well, I think. I'm going to go back into my American cherry wood. Make sure I turn off locking the two values together, because I want to change them separately. Now this texture we're not really going to be seeing very much of at all. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. I'm going to put a mask on the top layer. I do want to make sure it's not too shiny though. So again, I'm going to pull up on the roughness value here, take it more towards the white and less into the black. So it's more of a matte wood, not a polished wood. I'm going to jump back into my darker color here, which is our main texture color. I'll zoom in a bit. And I'm going to look at that arched piece through here. Trying to work out what's going on there. I'm going to add a mask here. I think it's a black mask. No, it's a white mask. I always get them mixed up. Because we're working on a white mask, we have to work with a black texture, black color. I'm going to go into my brushes, I think. Yeah. I'm going to choose Dirt 2. Make sure my brush size is pulled right back. I'm going to zoom in a bit closer to the model here. And that's okay, Alchemist, I understood your English, it's fine. Your English is fine. Alright, so we're in a mask, we're using a black colour. I might actually use my Wacom tablet here as well, so I'm going to use the stylus. It should just give me a bit more control over my painting. No, I'm doing something wrong, hang on. Control Zing to get rid of that painting I've just done. What's going on here? Trying to see what it's actually doing here. Looking on my height channel for some reason. Why is that? I'll pull out my panels here so I can get a better view of what's going on. going to delete this top layer. Clear my mask. Color, height, roughness, metal, normal. I'm going to have to look at what it's doing. It's not doing what I want it to do. I'm going to remove the mask for a second. Nope. Let me throw down a new material. I just want to try and work out what's going on here. This one will do. Mask. White mask. Okay, that's working the way it should. I'm just not sure what's going on with the other material underneath of it. So, make it a black mask. I'm not going to be keeping this, I'm just doing some testing here to find out what's going on. Alright, we're going to delete that layer. I'm going to move this layer above the red colour. And again I'm going to add a black mask. I'll go back to using my stylus here. For some reason it was painting in the height information and not the color channel.
Gaze into your eyes. Oh, I love the way you smile. Oh, I'm forever.
Just going to clear my mask
Let you catch a glimpse of me.
and change my brush, I think.
My direction. I want to let you see. so don't leave me on my own. Oh, I believe in happy endings. Could you make one up with me? Leave your heartache in the past, 'cause I'll be the one to set you free. 'Cause you
What I'm doing here is I'm just adding some wearing to that arch that runs along the inside of the model piece. I really don't like the shine that's happening there either. I'm just going to turn that off for a minute, jump back into my original layer here. I'm going to pull back a bit on the roughness value. It's a bit better. I don't want it quite so shiny. I'll jump back into my mask here at the top.
'Cause you belong with me.
What are you doing? Oh, I haven't turned it on, that's why. I was wondering why it wouldn't let me paint. Pull that down a bit. You see the way the brush changes depending on the angle that you're painting on? Let me just angle my model around a bit.
I can see emerald skies, imagination over time. Say you need to go find yourself. What if you stay this time? Won't you stay? Baby, won't you stay with me? We can find a way.
No, I'm actually using my mouse here, I'm not using my pen. I'm just finding it's getting a bit too fiddly using the stylus, the Wacom tablet for this. I want to look at this ridge that runs along the top as well.
I can see the way you move. Please don't be afraid. I can see the lies where
At the moment I'm just working on these corners.
stay with me and let's see. Baby, won't you stay? Baby, won't you stay with me? We can find a way. You just make me
We're not going to see the sides of the model because these go up right up to the top two edges of the wall. So there's a wall on either side of this, so that the side pieces are never going to be seen. What I'm trying to do here is just make it look like there's some wearing that's been happening on the actual wood. Like, so like the wood has been worn over the years. So parts of the varnish layer have been removed, either through people touching it or just wear and tear. It can be easy to get carried away, so be a bit careful. Also remember too, you can always pull back on the effect here through the slider. This is like Photoshop's opacity slider. So if you pull in just a little bit, so it's not quite so in your face,